The air inside Sunrise Mall was thick with the frenzy of Black Friday. Shoppers stormed through its polished corridors, their arms loaded with bags, faces tense with a mix of excitement and exhaustion. The melodic strains of holiday music piped through the speakers, but the cheery jingles were drowned out by the chaos. Lines snaked around every store, and the shrill beeping of cash registers filled the air. Marcus Hayes entered the mall, scanning the bustling scene. At 45 years old, Marcus carried himself with the quiet confidence of someone who had seen the world and its challenges. His broad shoulders and military-style haircut hinted at a life of discipline, but his warm brown eyes softened his imposing frame. Dressed in a simple leather jacket and jeans, he moved with purpose toward the toy store. He wasn't here for the deals. He rarely indulged in materialism, but this year was different. His 8-year-old nephew, Jaden, had been asking for a particular remote control car for months. Marcus saw it as an opportunity to surprise the boy who looked up to him like a hero. As Marcus navigated the sea of shoppers, he caught sight of a group causing a commotion near the electronics store. A biker gang, clad in leather jackets adorned with skull insignias, occupied the space as if they owned it. Vic, their leader, was a burly man with a tattoo snaking up his neck and a sneer permanently etched onto his face. The gang laughed obnoxiously, shoving past other shoppers and tipping over displays. Employees whispered nervously, their eyes darting to the security guards, who seemed hesitant to approach the group. Marcus sighed, choosing to steer clear of the group. He had no interest in unnecessary conflict, especially not today. At the toy store, Marcus found the shelves picked clean. He walked along the aisles until he spotted the last remaining box of the remote control car. A surge of relief washed over him as he reached for it. At that exact moment, a biker named Grady, tall and wiry with a sharp jawline, reached for the same item. Their hands brushed, and Marcus quickly pulled back. "Looks like we've got ourselves a little competition," Grady said with a smirk, loud enough to draw the attention of his nearby gang members. "I don't want any trouble," Marcus replied calmly, his voice steady. But Vic sauntered over, his boots thudding against the floor. He loomed over Marcus, his breath reeking of cheap beer. "What do we have here? Another shopper trying to take what's ours?" "It's just a toy," Marcus said, holding his ground. "There are kids who'd be happy to have it, mine included." Vic let out a mocking laugh. "Yours? Figures. Bet your kid's got enough handouts already." The words stung, but Marcus remained composed. He knew their game: provoke, humiliate, and escalate. Instead of reacting, he calmly set the box down and said, "Take it. It's not worth the argument." As Marcus turned to walk away, Vic called after him. "That's right, walk away, soldier boy. Guess they teach you how to run in the military, huh?" Laughter erupted from the gang, but Marcus didn't look back. He felt the burn of their insults, but refused to give them the satisfaction of a response. Behind him, Vic and his gang exchanged sinister grins. "Let's give him a proper goodbye," Vic muttered, the wheels in his head already spinning. The sun had dipped below the horizon by the time Marcus left the mall. His nephew's gift, wrapped and bagged, hung from his hand as he made his way through the sprawling parking lot. The once busy lot had thinned out, but scattered groups of shoppers lingered, loading their cars with discounted treasures. Marcus approached his modest sedan, fishing his keys from his pocket. The faint hum of a distant motorcycle engine pricked his ears, but he paid it no mind. He opened his trunk and carefully placed the toy inside, securing it under a blanket to prevent prying eyes. "Hey, soldier boy," a voice boomed behind him. Marcus turned to find Vic and his gang surrounding him, their motorcycles forming a semicircle. Their leather jackets gleamed under the dim parking lot lights, and the men's faces twisted with sneers. Vic stepped forward, holding a half-empty beer bottle. "We didn't get a chance to thank you for being so understanding back there." Marcus sighed, his grip tightening around his keys. "Look, I don't want any trouble. Let's all just go home." "Home?" Vic repeated mockingly. "Nah, we've got some business to settle. You embarrassed Grady in front of the whole store. Now, you're gonna make it up to him." Grady stepped forward, cracking his knuckles. "How about we see if you can still fight like a soldier?" Marcus raised his hands in a placating gesture. "I'm not looking for a fight. Just let me go on my way." But Vic wasn't interested in peace. With a nod, he signaled one of his men, who lunged at Marcus, aiming a sloppy punch. Marcus reacted instinctively. Years of training kicked in as he sidestepped the attack and delivered a precise strike to the man's ribs, sending him crumpling to the ground. The gang froze for a moment, stunned by Marcus's quick response. Vic's sneer faltered, but only briefly. "You just made the biggest mistake of your life," Vic growled, gesturing for the rest of the gang to close in. Marcus exhaled deeply, his mind racing. Outnumbered, but not outmatched, he prepared to defend himself against the onslaught. The parking lot, once filled with the sound of shoppers, now echoed with the shouts of the gang and the swift, calculated movements of a soldier unwilling to back down. The first biker lunged at Marcus, throwing a wild punch aimed at his face. With military precision, Marcus ducked under the blow, grabbed the man's arm, and twisted it behind his back. A swift kick to the back of the knee sent the biker collapsing to the pavement, groaning in pain. Marcus spun around just in time to see another attacker rushing at him with a chain. The links clinked ominously as they swung toward his head, but Marcus stepped into the attacker's swing, catching the chain-wielding arm and delivering a sharp elbow to the biker's nose. Blood spurted as the man staggered back, dropping the chain with a loud clang. By now, the remaining bikers had surrounded him, their confidence beginning to waver. Vic barked orders, his face red with fury. "Take him down." "What are you idiots waiting for?" Two bikers charged at once. Marcus braced himself, deflecting a punch from the first man and countering with a jab to his jaw. The second man tried to tackle Marcus from behind, but Marcus shifted his weight and threw the attacker over his shoulder, sending him crashing onto the hood of a nearby car. The vehicle's alarm blared, adding to the chaos in the lot. The crowd that had begun to gather grew larger. Shoppers stopped in their tracks, phones held high to record the confrontation. Murmurs rippled through the group, voices filled with awe and disbelief. "Is he some kind of martial artist?" one bystander asked. "No," another replied. "Look at his moves. He's military. You can tell." Marcus's calm demeanor contrasted sharply with the biker's increasingly frantic movements. He assessed the remaining threats, his breathing steady, his posture unyielding. Though outnumbered, he remained focused, years of combat training guiding his every action. Vic, realizing his crew was no match for Marcus, stepped forward, pulling a knife from his belt. The blade gleamed under the fluorescent parking lot lights. "You think you're tough, soldier boy. Let's see how you do against this." The crowd gasped, some yelling for someone to call the police. Marcus narrowed his eyes, his hands curling into fists. "You don't want to do this, Vic," he said evenly, his voice carrying a warning. "Walk away now, and we can end this without anyone getting seriously hurt." But Vic was too consumed by rage and humiliation to listen. He lunged at Marcus, slashing the knife in a wide arc. Marcus sidestepped the attack, grabbing Vic's wrist and twisting it sharply. The knife clattered to the ground, and with a quick strike to Vic's chest, Marcus sent the gang leader sprawling onto the pavement. Vic groaned, clutching his ribs, his bravado evaporating. The remaining bikers hesitated, exchanging uncertain glances. Before they could decide their next move, a booming voice cut through the tension. "Stand down!" From the crowd stepped a group of men, their presence commanding attention. They were older, like Marcus, with a similar air of discipline. Their clothes were casual, but their bearing gave them away. Veterans. One of them, a tall man with a graying beard, addressed the bikers. "You mess with one of us, you mess with all of us." The bikers froze, their eyes darting between Marcus and the newcomers. There were 5 of them, each standing firm, their eyes hard with determination. The crowd murmured in approval, some cheering as the veterans stepped into the fray. "Sergeant Hayes," one of the men said, turning to Marcus with a grin. "It's been a while." Marcus's tense expression softened slightly. "Anderson," he replied, nodding in recognition. "Didn't think I'd see you here." "Well, looks like we showed up just in time," Anderson said. "Couldn't let you have all the fun, could we?" The bikers, now clearly outmatched, began to back away. Vic struggled to his feet, glaring at Marcus and the veterans. "You think this is over?" he spat, wiping blood from his mouth. "We'll be back." "Then you'll make the same mistake twice," Marcus said, his voice steady and cold. "Walk away while you still can." Vic hesitated, weighing his options. The presence of the veterans, along with the growing crowd and the numerous phones recording the scene, finally made him think better of continuing the fight. With a sharp nod to his crew, he muttered, "Let's go," and the bikers retreated to their motorcycles. The crowd erupted into cheers as the gang roared out of the parking lot, their engines a fading growl in the distance. Marcus exhaled deeply, rolling his shoulders as the tension left his body. "Looks like you haven't lost your touch," Anderson said, clapping Marcus on the back. "Thanks for the backup," Marcus replied, "though I had it under control." "Sure you did," another veteran joked, "but you've got to leave some for the rest of us." The group shared a laugh, their camaraderie evident. Marcus felt a sense of pride and gratitude for his fellow veterans, their bond forged through years of shared experiences. The crowd began to disperse, though many lingered to thank Marcus and the other veterans for their bravery. A young woman approached Marcus, holding her phone. "This is going viral," she said, showing him the recording. "People need to see this." Marcus hesitated, but then nodded. If it helps someone stand up to bullies like them, then let it. The veterans gathered around Marcus, and they shared a quiet moment of solidarity before parting ways. Marcus watched them go, a small smile playing on his lips. Despite the chaos of the night, he felt a deep sense of fulfillment. He returned to his car, checked on his nephew's gift, and drove home, the weight of the evening settling over him. The sound of Marcus's engine echoed through the quiet streets as he drove home. The adrenaline from the confrontation lingered in his veins, though his disciplined mind helped him process the night calmly. His thoughts drifted to his nephew, Malik, and the gift tucked securely in the passenger seat, a new gaming console he'd spent weeks saving for. As Marcus pulled into his driveway, he noticed a few notifications lighting up his phone. Social media was already abuzz. The video of the parking lot confrontation had gone viral, spreading across platforms with lightning speed. Comments poured in, praising his bravery, composure, and the support he received from his fellow veterans. "Black Friday Hero," one headline read. "Veteran teaches bikers a lesson in respect," said another. Marcus sighed, unsure how he felt about the sudden attention. He had acted out of necessity, not for glory, but he hoped the story's message would inspire others to stand up for themselves and others. The next morning, Marcus awoke to a knock at the door. He rubbed the sleep from his eyes and opened it to find Anderson, one of the veterans who had stepped in during the fight. "Morning, Hayes," Anderson greeted, holding up a steaming cup of coffee. "Figured you could use this." "Thanks," Marcus replied, stepping aside to let his old comrade in. Anderson took a seat at the small kitchen table, his eyes scanning the modest apartment. "Saw the video again this morning. Man, people are loving what you did last night." Marcus shook his head as he sipped the coffee. "Did what I had to do. Those bikers were looking for trouble, and I wasn't about to let them bully me." Anderson smirked. "Still as humble as ever. But listen, there's more to this. You know those guys, the bikers. Turns out they've been causing problems all over town. A lot of businesses have been complaining about them, but nobody's had the guts to stand up to them until now." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "So, what happens now? The cops going to do something?" "Maybe," Anderson said, "but the real pressure's coming from the public. That video's making waves, and people are calling for action. Looks like you've started something bigger than you realized." Marcus leaned back in his chair, his mind turning. He hadn't intended to spark a movement, but if it led to positive change, he was willing to embrace it. Meanwhile, the biker gang was dealing with the fallout of their humiliating retreat. Vic, nursing a bruised ego and cracked ribs, sat in their dingy clubhouse, scrolling through the endless stream of comments on the viral video. "These people don't know what they're talking about," one biker grumbled. "They don't know what it's like to face someone like that." Vic slammed his fist on the table, silencing the room. "We can't let this stand," he growled. "That guy made fools out of us, and now the whole world's laughing." "But what are we supposed to do?" another biker asked. "We can't just show up and start trouble again, not after that video." Vic's eyes burned with anger, but he knew his crew was right. Their reputation was in shambles, and any attempt to retaliate would only make things worse. For the first time in a long time, Vic felt powerless. Back at home, Marcus was enjoying a quiet moment with Malik. The young boy's face lit up as he unwrapped his new gaming console, his excitement infectious. "Thanks, Uncle Marcus," Malik beamed. "This is the best present ever." Marcus smiled, ruffling the boy's hair. "You deserve it, kiddo. Just promise me you'll keep up with your schoolwork too, okay?" "I promise," Malik said, already setting up the console. The warmth of the moment was interrupted by another knock at the door. Marcus opened it to find two police officers standing on his porch. For a brief moment, his heart sank, but the officers' expressions were friendly. "Mr. Hayes?" one of them asked. "That's me," Marcus replied. "We just wanted to thank you for what you did last night," the officer said. "We've been trying to deal with that biker gang for months. Your actions might just be the push we needed to take them down." Marcus nodded, his military instincts making him wary of undue praise. "Just did what anyone would do in my situation." The officer smiled. "Well, we appreciate it, and if you ever need anything, don't hesitate to reach out." As the officers left, Marcus felt a renewed sense of purpose. The events of the past day had shown him that his actions could make a difference, not just for himself, but for the community. A few days later, Marcus received an invitation to speak at a local community event. The organizers wanted him to share his story and inspire others to stand up against bullying and injustice. Standing on the small stage in front of a packed audience, Marcus felt a mix of nerves and determination. He spoke about his experiences as a soldier, the values of discipline and resilience, and the importance of standing together in the face of adversity. "You don't have to be a soldier to stand up for what's right," he said, his voice steady and strong. "But you do have to be willing to fight, not with violence, but with courage and unity. When we come together, there's nothing we can't overcome." The crowd erupted into applause, their cheers echoing through the hall. Marcus felt a swell of pride, not for himself, but for the strength and spirit of the community he had helped inspire. Later that evening, as he sat on his porch with Anderson and a few other veterans, Marcus reflected on the journey that had brought him to this point. "You've got a gift, Hayes," Anderson said, raising a beer and a toast. "You've always been a leader, whether on the battlefield or in a parking lot." Marcus chuckled, clinking his bottle against Anderson's. "Just doing my part, same as all of you." The group fell into a comfortable silence, the bonds of brotherhood unspoken but deeply felt. For Marcus, the events of Black Friday had been more than a confrontation. They had been a reminder of the strength that came from standing firm in one's principles and the power of community to overcome even the toughest challenges. And as he looked out into the quiet night, he knew that this was only the beginning. Thank you for joining us for this incredible story of courage, resilience, and community. Marcus's journey reminds us that standing firm in the face of adversity and holding on to our principles can inspire others to do the same. If this story moved you, be sure to share your thoughts in the comments. We'd love to hear how it inspired you. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss another powerful story from Hopeful Horizon. Let us know where you're listening from as well. We love connecting with our audience from around the globe. Until next time, stay hopeful, stay resilient, and always stand up for what's right.